Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Stock Market Today. It's Ali, Coram, and Shreve here with a look at the action in today's session, Thursday, August 3rd, where we did see weakness today and closes lower for the major indexes, but they were able to finish off intraday lows, Ken, and we've got some big name earnings reports due out after the bell.
And a big jobs report tomorrow morning. So definitely some market moving headlines. Yeah, pretty good performance for the market. Nasdaq was down almost 0.7% intraday and paired a lot of those losses. So overall, we'll call it a constructive session. Three stocks to watch today. Well, let's revisit On Holding, ticker ONON. In a small number of growth stocks that are showing resilience in this market. I'll also take a look in the retail sector, Costco, COST, and in the financial sector, Ameriprise Financial, AMP.
All right, let's do it. But first, let's take a look at the major indexes. Today, the NASDAQ down 0.1%, as you said, narrowing that loss there. The S&P 500 down 0.25%. The Dow off 0.2% today. And the Russell 2000 down 0.3%. So it could have been a lot worse. So constructive, as you said, the index is firming up a bit. And after the sharp declines in yesterday's session on Wednesday, good to see the bleeding stop a little bit here.
Yeah, and it was an unequivocal distribution day yesterday. Higher volume decline, big percentage decline below the 21-day. So today, like I said, the Nasdaq was down close to 0.7% intraday. Volume was heavy again today, even higher than it was on Wednesday. But to see the Nasdaq pair those losses in higher volume, that is definitely constructive. It just tells me that there were some buyers around, lifting the index off lows. Now that said, there was a lot of damage. Again, a lot of growth stocks came under a lot of selling pressure. Many names down 1, 2, 3% again. So growth stocks are looking vulnerable here, but good sign of strength by the Nasdaq today. And like you said, Amazon and Apple report after the close. We got a pretty important jobs report tomorrow.
Yeah, and we can't predict what's going to happen. We can only interpret the action as it unfolds. But in terms of the different scenarios we could see play out, seems like a test of that 50-day line is still very much in the cards, Ken. The ideal scenario would be to see that play out over time instead of a sharp decline in a touch of that level. But if we get some positive earnings from Amazon and Apple, and if that jobs report also fuels investor sentiment, then we could see the NASDAQ getting back above the 21-day line here. So what are your thoughts about the different scenarios right now?
Well, I mean, I think what is important to realize is that there was a lot of, there's damage done to the market yesterday, and again, we're always looking at a market of stocks. So, growth stocks under a lot of pressure yesterday. They're under more pressure today. To me, the tech trade looks a little shaky at this point. So, where's the leadership going to come from? Well, maybe it'll come from the oil and gas space. Maybe it'll come from financials. We talked about those two sectors on IBD Live this morning, seeing some encouraging action. But I'm a little concerned about the weak response to earnings from names like Dynatrace and HubSpot. Seeing a lot of these software stocks coming in pretty hard. Now that doesn't mean that this uptrend is necessarily over. We're just under a little bit of pressure here. We've got 5 distribution days now on the Nasdaq and the S&P 500. So lots of yellow flags out there. Not seeing a whole lot of actionable stuff in Techland right now due to recent selling, but still seeing leadership in other areas. So that's encouraging.
And now let's take a look at the S&P 500 right at its 21-day line in Wednesday's session and losing a little bit of ground again here today. It's just above that 4,500 level.
Yeah, volume really dried up on the NYSE today. So we had higher volume on the Nasdaq and lower volume on the NYSE. But the S&P 500, like the Nasdaq, did pair a 0.6% intraday loss. Looks like it closed in the middle of its range. So after the selling yesterday, it would have been entirely possible to see some follow-on selling, and we did get it early in the session. Like I said, Nasdaq down close to 0.7, and S&P down about 0.6, but nice rally off lows for both indexes today.
Hmm. And let's check in on the Dow and the Russell. Here's a look at the Dow, still above its 21-day line. So as you said, maybe we see some leadership elsewhere while tech takes a breather.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I know the Boeing has been a pretty decent performer in the blue chip index. You're starting to find some better looking technical setups here. Nice heavy volume breakout for Boeing. A low volume pullback looks like close coming down to that 10-day moving average. So definitely seeing some strength in blue chips. And again, I think it's just important to remember that this uptrend is only under pressure. I mean, likely, I don't think tomorrow's going to be a quiet day of dull trading. It could be, but there's a lot of market moving headlines that we're going to be dealing with. So does that mean we're going to, start marching higher? Maybe, but right now, it seems to me like the chances for a test of that 50-day for the Nasdaq and the S&P 500 are
Hmm.
probably better than they were, headed into this week.
Right. And here's a look at IWM, the ETF that tracks the Russell 2000. We can also actually take a look at 0RUS coming down to the 21-day line, but finding support there and closing off lows.
Yeah, finding support, and again, not an index that is technically in trouble here, holding above short-term support levels and close off lows for the Russell as well today.
Hmm. And next on our list, we want to take a look. Should we take a look at the 10-year yield? Or is it going to burn our eyes too much to see these eye-popping gains here, Ken? Look at that 10-year yield.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it yesterday and how the yield went up to about 4.12%, and then took out that 4.09% level. But yesterday it closed below 4.09. I was surprised with the ease in which it took out 4.09% again today. So and again, just another reason that this market's performance was fairly impressive today, because typically the Nasdaq and tech stocks don't like these surging bond yields, but the Nasdaq closed off lows, even though that 10-year yield was strong all day. It is definitely starting to look bond market probably getting a little oversold at this point. So maybe getting to a point where we'll start to see that yield back off highs after a pretty explosive move over the past 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. And now let's take a look at XLE. You mentioned the energy trade. This is looking like it's firming up here as we're continuing to see gains in the price of oil, Ken.
Yeah, I think this area of the market can continue to outperform. We got oil. Oil was up big today, up 2.5%, trading just below $82 a barrel. I don't know about where you live, Ali, but gas prices in California have started to get really, really high again. So amid worries about maybe a slowdown in consumer spending, higher gas prices isn't gonna help matter. So that's another possible
Right.
thorn in the market's side here. But oil and gas stocks continue to outperform here, and like I said, oil's trading just below $82 a barrel now, and gasoline in California over, I think, $5 a gallon again.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, speaking of the consumer, here's a consumer stock. That's the thing. And if we're seeing higher interest rates and higher gas prices at the pump, maybe hurting the consumer, it's kind of impressive to see something like On Holdings, shoe stock. These are some pretty expensive
Hmm.
sneakers. They're not cheap. I mean, this stock is holding up very well in the face of those potential headwinds?
Yeah, starting to see some on shoes around the office, seeing on shoes just anecdotally more and more. And it is a premium brand. I mean, you're going to pay north of a hundred bucks for a pair of sneakers, but good quality. And I think the stock looks still looks really good here. You had a nice upside reversal last week in heavy volume. The stock has done a good job holding that gain from last week. Outperformed today in lower volume. We're going to hear from On Holding not next week, but the following week. So this is another high multiple stock that's going to be held to a very high standard. But you can see the revenue growth along the bottom. They are selling a lot of product, and they are developing, what appears to be a pretty loyal following. So not only footwear but apparel as well. So this one has a good feel to it. I mean, it's a very compelling growth story. I mean, yes, you're paying up for the stock, selling at 87 times trailing earnings. We've seen that these high multiple stocks are, held to a high standard during earnings season. We've seen some sell-offs, but the way On Holding is trading, I think optimism is still pretty good. We'd see a strong quarter.
And with earnings less than 2 weeks away, I mean, if traders are on the sidelines here, that's not a whole lot of time to be building up a profit cushion. It's not impossible, and the stock is finding support at the 21-day line. Maybe a little stretched from that proper buy zone, but what are your thoughts on that? Can traders watching this show and they're on the sidelines, should they be waiting until after earnings, or is it worth a nibble here?
Well, you can see that blue shaded area in the MarketSmith chart here. So it's just outside that blue shaded area. So it's just past that 5% buy zone. But this is a stock that's probably gonna, I expect over the next couple of weeks to just kind of hold in this area. So if it pulls back a little closer to that buy point, maybe you consider a call option trade here. This is one I'll probably give some attention to next week when I'm doing the earnings preview story. But I think it looks good here. Maybe just a little stretched from the 33.67 buy point, and possibly a call option trade ahead of earnings. But we'll just see how it continues to trade here.
Okay, let's now take a look at Costco, another consumer name. It's seen such a steady uptrend from its last earnings report, a really positive reaction to those results, and an orderly pullback here, Ken. And we have another almost 2 months until the next earnings report.
Yeah, I think the retail sector. I mentioned, oil and gas, and the retailers also an area to watch here. We talked about several retailers on IBD Live this morning. I don't know if we mentioned Costco or not, but I just like the way how this halted a three-session slide today, finding support right where it should. So I think the retail sector is worth paying attention to. You have to think with people worried about the economy, whether it's a slowdown in consumer spending, to see retailers,
Mhm.
trading like they are. I think there's optimism that fundamentals look okay here, and they're probably going to hold up just fine. So another vote for a strengthening economy, a soft
Mhm.
landing. Retail stocks continue to look good here.
Mhm. Great thoughts there, Ken. And last but not least, let's take a look at AMP. This is Ameriprise Financial. Pretty nice move off of the 21-day line here today for AMP.
Yeah, just kind of waiting for volume to come into the stock here. You can see the accumulation distribution rating of D. That's kind of hurt by some higher
Mhm.
volume declines in recent weeks. But a nice if volume were strong today, and it looks like it came in a little bit higher than yesterday. I mean, this would have been a buy signal to me, a nice move above the short-term moving average. This is financial planning, wealth management. So you've got a lot of selling in tech land, but you've got financial stocks, retail stocks, oil and gas stocks still showing relative strength here. So possible we could see a change in leadership. We get a little pullback in the market, and maybe some of these stocks in these sectors are gonna be the next leaders.
Yeah. We'll have to see. All right. Thank you so much for that, Ken. And thanks everyone for tuning in. We will be back with more tomorrow morning on IBD Live. And we hope you join us along with a special guest, Alex Marenko, who was a portfolio manager under IBD founder Bill O'Neill at O'Neill and Company for some time. So it'll be great to get his updated thoughts on the market and stocks he's watching. Investors.com/IBD Live for all the details there. We'll see you then, and we'll also see you right back here tomorrow at the close.